Okay, 7.6 sine and cosine ratio. So we talked about the tangent ratio, or in the previous video. So now we're talking about sine and cosine. So again, I need for you to remember TOA. And we talked about tangent is opposite over adjacent. Sine is going to be opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine is going to be adjacent over hypotenuse. And just like with the last section, you must have a calculator that has those three functions on it, the sine, cosine, and tangent functions, because you'll need that. Okay, so I think instead of talking about this, we're going to go down and try them. So find the sine of R and find the sine of S. So we're going to circle R. So that's the angle we're talking about. We're going to go ahead and label all sides. So compared to R, this is adjacent, this is opposite, and then this is always the hypotenuse. Even though both of these are actually adjacent, one of them will always be the hypotenuse, and that's the one across from the 90-degree angle. So if we're talking about sine, that's so that's opposite over hypotenuse. So if I'm talking about sine of R, it's opposite of R, which is 15, over the hypotenuse, which is 25. And then they want that rounded to 4 decimal places, so we have to put that in our calculator. Just 15 divided by 25, and we get 0.6. So there's not 4 decimal places. We're going to go through and do all the sines of R. So circle R. This is hypotenuse, adjacent, opposite. So sine, again, is so opposite, which is 24, over hypotenuse, which is 26. In this one, that is 0.9231. Here we have sine of R. This is adjacent, hypotenuse, and opposite. So sine is O over H. So we're going to do 16 over 34. So 16 divided by 34 is 0.4706, rounded correctly because there's an 8 after that 5. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the sine of S. So what I'd like for you to do is pause me and try 1 through 3 finding the sine of S. So sine, this is adjacent, opposite, and that stays as hypotenuse. But sine is still O over H, so O, which is, we're in the blue, which is 20 over 25. So 20 divided by 25 is 0.8. So that is the ratio for that. Sine, this is adjacent, that's still hypotenuse, and this is opposite. So O would be the 10 over the H, which is the 26, so 10 divided by 26. That equals 0.3846. And one more. Sine of this guy, sine of S, this is adjacent, this is opposite, and this is hypotenuse. So O over H, so that's 30 over 34. And we get 0.8824 rounded correctly. All right, now we're talking about cosine. So cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So circle A, this is adjacent, this is opposite, and this is hypotenuse. So cosine is A over H, so adjacent, which is 48, over H, which is 52. On that, if I divide that, I get 0.9231 because it's a 0, but the 7 after the 0 rounds it up. Circle A, this is adjacent, this is opposite, and this is hypotenuse. So the cosine is 12 over 37, A over H. If I divide that, I get 0.3243. And then cosine of A, this is adjacent, opposite, hypotenuse. So that's 24 over 30. So 24 divided by 30, and I get just 0.8. All right, go ahead and pause me and try finding the cosine of B on each of these. Remember, you have to circle B, and then you have to rename these, because this is now adjacent, and this is now opposite. And you're doing A over H. So pause me and try each of those. 20 over 52 is 0.3846. Cosine of B, circle that. This is adjacent, this is opposite. So A over H is 35 over 37. Is 0.9459. B, A, and O. A over H would be 18 over 30. which is 0.6. So that's just finding the ratio, right? All right, so now let's try some problems with these. Okay, use a cosine or sine ratio. So you actually have to figure out, is it sine, is it cosine, or is it tangent? Now, since we already did tangent on separate notes, and these won't be tangent on here, most likely. However, when you get to the homework assignments, it's not going to tell you to use sine or cosine or tangent. You'll just have to circle what they gave you and figure out which one to use from there. All right, so here I have 57. We have to find A and B. Okay, they have given us, in both situations, they've given us the opposite. In this case, we're going to start with A and find A first. So A is my adjacent. And actually, we're going to use TOA in order to find this because that's O and A. So you use the letters to figure out which one of the trig ratios you're going to use. So you're going to do tangent of 57. TOA says O over A. Put that over 1. So we're going to cross multiply. We get A times the tangent of 57 equals 14. Divide by the tangent of 57 on both sides. So 14 divided by the tangent of 57. And I get 9. So A equals, round to the nearest tenth, 9.1. Okay? But then on this one, I need to find B. B is hypotenuse. So if I think about this, we now know A is 9.1. So we could use that value to help us find this B value. However, if I got that incorrect and I didn't know it, then I would for sure get this guy incorrect. So always use what they gave you. So they have given me O as compared to the 57. And we want to find this B, which is H. So which one uses O and H? We'll sine this. So that's the one we're going to use. We're going to do sine of the angle measure we're talking about, 57, equals O, and in this case O is 14, over H. In this case that's B. Put this over 1 so we set up a proportion. We're going to cross multiply and we get 14 equals B times the sine of 57. We're going to divide everything by the sine of 57. So I do 14 divided by the sine of 57. And I get B equals 16.7. Okay. Go ahead and pause me and see if you can do number 8 on your own. Unpause me when you're done. All right, circle 51. This is an H. This is adjacent, and this is opposite. Let's start with just the T. So opposite, so we have an O and we have an H that we can use. We have to use the side with one measurement, so we have to use that H. So O and H would be sine. So we're going to do sine of 51 degrees equals O, which is T, over H, which is 32. Put this over 1, cross multiply. So 32 times the sine of 51 equals T. So T equals 24.9. Now we're going to find U. So we're for sure going to have to use H again, and we have to use this U, which is A. So A and H is cosine. So now I'm going to do cosine of 51 degrees, the angle measure that they gave us, equals my angle, or my side length A, which is U, over my side length H, which is 32, because I have to go A over H, right? Put this over 1, cross multiply, and I get U equals 32 times the cosine of 51. And I get U equals 20.1. Real quick, guys, one thing I could do, I know that this is 90 and this is 51, and I know that this is a triangle, so it always has to add up to 180 degrees. And I know that these two angles have to add up to 90 because there's already 90 taken out. So I know that this one has to be 39. So you could use that angle and then reallocate those letters as needed if you wanted to do that. Okay. Number 9, 39 degrees. This is my adjacent angle. This is my opposite angle. This is my hypotenuse. Let's start by finding G. So we have to use the one that they gave us, A. And we are going to find G, that's H. So the A and H is co, so that's cosine. So cosine of 39 degrees equals A, which is 44, over G, my H. Put this over 1, cross multiply. I get G times the cosine of 39 equals 44. I'm going to divide by the cosine of 39 on both sides. 44 divided by the cosine of 39, and I get G equals 56.6. All right, so now I'm going to find H. So that's an O, and we want to use the one that they gave us. That's an A. O and A is found with tangent. So I'm going to do tangent of 39 equals O, which is H, over A, which is 44. Put this over 1, cross multiply. So I get 44 times the tangent of 39 equals H. Divide by the tangent of 39. No, I don't have to divide by the tangent of 39. Oh! See, if you guys were in class, you could yell at me then. So we just do 44 times the tangent of 39, and I get H equals 35.6. Okay, this guy right here, circle my angle measure. This is adjacent, this is hypotenuse, and this is opposite. So we're for sure going to use O in both of these. We're going to start by finding R, so we're going to use O and A. O and A is tangent, so I'm going to do tangent of 36 equals opposite over adjacent. Cross multiply, I get R times the tangent of 36 equals 21. Divide by the tangent of 36 on both sides. And I get R equals 28.9. All right, now one more on this problem. We need to find, so we found R, so now we need to find S, which is my hypotenuse. I'm going to use the one that they gave us, so O and H. O and H is so that's sine. So sine of 36 is O, which is 21 over H, which is S. Put that over 1. Cross multiply, S times the sine of 36 equals 21. Divide by the sine of 36. So 21 divided by the sine of 36, and I get S equals 35.7. Okay, on the next ones, don't worry, we're not going to do those, so don't worry about doing that. Here, we're going to start this one. So find the unknown side length. So we're going to find this unknown side length by using, I have no angle measures, but I have two sides, so I can use Pythagorean theorem. And do 36 squared plus x squared equals 85 squared. So that's the same thing as doing 85 squared minus 36 squared, and taking the square root of that answer. So we get x equals 77. Okay, then find sine of A. So circle A. Sine of A is equal to A sine. So ka, toa. So sine would be opposite. 36 is opposite over hypotenuse is 85. Write it as a fraction in the simplest form and then as a decimal. So now I'm going to turn that into a decimal. I do not believe that that reduces at all. It could be wrong, but I don't think it does. I round to 4 decimal places. 4.4235 is what that equals. They also want us to find cosine of A. So cosine of A would be ka. So adjacent, so that's 77 over the hypotenuse 85. Again, I don't think that that reduces. So I'm going to divide them to turn them into a decimal. I get 0.9059 rounded correctly. Go ahead and pause me and try this one on your own. Unpause me when you're done. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. When I did that, I got 64 equals c squared, so c just equals 8. So sine of A, opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine of A is adjacent over hypotenuse, and then I just divide those to find their decimals. Okay, so your homework for this section. There is a Schoology homework assignment that you will need to complete. And then after you have completed that, if you go to your packet, your supplemental packet, you will need to complete this page right here, round to the nearest 10th when you're entering in the answers. So there's 1 through 8 on the front, and then if you flip it, there's 9 through 17. You'll just need to do 16. So you'll do 1 through 16 on this, and then you'll enter your answers into Schoology also. All right, thanks, guys.